This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right. And naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys. Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Inc., Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
Welcome to People Tech, the podcast of WorkforceAI.news. I'm Mark Pfeffer. SAP is holding its Sapphire conference in Orlando this week, and today I'm talking with Maryann Abbajay, the Chief Revenue Officer at SuccessFactors. We're going to talk about a lot of things involving AI in the enterprise. Things like suites versus point solutions, integration, how sensitive customers are about security, and in general what they want. All of that on today's edition of People Tech. Hi, Maryann. You guys have a lot going on this week with SAP's Sapphire. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about that, but also some questions about what you see from your perch about AI's use in HR in general. So let me start with that. How do you see HR people using the AI capabilities that SAP and SuccessFactors offer?
Yep, that's a great question. And so, Mark, look, we're just getting going. We last year when we introduced AI, we had so much interest, but we also have, because we're focused on HR people, a lot of, what can I say, hesitancy about how do we get started? What do we do? And so we actually put together a team of product services, CSMs, which are customer support managers, a team made up of those folks to make it easier to help people get going. And I'll give you a phenomenal example. Standard Chartered Bank, who turned on goal generation and writing assistant for 85,000 employees. They had, Standard Chartered Bank, heavily, regulated UK bank. And I lived in the UK for a couple of years. So those regulations are nothing to sneeze at. Basically went to legal, brought them in from the very beginning, brought their IT organization in from the very beginning, and most importantly, brought their executive management team in and got everybody on board. Yes, we're going to do this. Yes, we're going to work through all of the AI concerns, all of the data security concerns, all of the GDPR concerns. Turned it on in November and had significant uptake on it. And what they found was that there was a little bit of hesitancy, but once people got started, they realized, wow, I can put one line for my goal in there and have AI, the writing assistant, take that and make it into something that sounds really eloquent. And you have the opportunity to go back in and double check it, make sure that it is what you want it to be, and then publish it. They've also used that writing assistant capability for performance reviews. Again, they put in the base information, ask the writing assistant to remove any bias, to, basically kind of expand on what they were saying. And again, they've just found from an efficiency perspective, it's fairly significant.
Have they found, or have you found, that some people are kind of being lazy? They're letting the AI do the work and they're really not doing much with what it comes out?
I would say no. And the reason is because it's new and because people are concerned about it, they're double checking it, they're triple checking it, they're making sure that it sounds like it's in their words. And, in the writing assistant, capability, you have the ability to say, make this more casual, make this more formal. So you can really adjust the tone of the message. But I don't think people are resting on that and just throwing it out there and not double checking it. They are actually looking at it.
What do you think HRs, and I mean mostly the practitioners, but managers and executives also, where do you think they see AI going? Do they see it as a tool unto itself? Do they see it as just something that's under the hood that helps them do their job? What's their view?
I think their view is a little bit of both. Because with Joule, which is our conversational AI assistant, well, that is a tool, right? That is a tool on its own, goes across the entire SAP suite, allows you to actually ask questions of policy documents, but also allows you to action things like, hey, check my leave balance and then go ahead and request the time off for X dates. The one that's coming out in 2 days, gosh, our first half release comes out on Sunday, is Ask My Payslip. And I think that one is going to make a huge difference because most of the questions that come into an HR direct type, function are around payslips and why did I get this deduction? Why was that the way it was? Why do I see more for benefits this month instead of last month? All those questions, and basically Joule is going to be able to answer those. Now, the reason that one is particularly important is because about 80% of those questions that come in to HR call centers or HR ticketing areas are related to payroll. So if we can reduce that, we can drastically reduce the time spent by people on those questions.
You mentioned a second ago about how you have a lot of platform-wide capabilities.
Yep.
Beyond SuccessFactors into the overall SAP platform. I'm wondering, do you see HR and other functions getting closer and closer? I mean, I'm wondering if SAP is thinking it might have to rethink its approach because the functions are all changing.
Well, actually, SAP has rethought its approach. And Mark, you've been around, a little while like me. So maybe you remember back in the day when we sold the full business suite. Well, we're back to selling the full business suite. And the reason is because we went through a period of time where customers had to kind of put things together themselves, went out and bought best of breed ERP, best of breed HR, best of breed spend, and realized, gosh, keeping all of that straight and managing the integrations is significant. That's why we've come back to the business suite, which is where we provide that level of integration. We provide the data layer with Business Data Cloud. We provide the AI function across all of those applications. And we're getting phenomenal response on that. And I'll give you an example, and I won't name the company, but last year I met with a CHRO, and he said, I'm really upset that we've gone out and bought another learning solution and another recruiting solution. I want to buy only from SuccessFactors because I now recognize how difficult it is to maintain the versions between the two. And every time we upgrade one, we have to mess with the other. Mm-hmm. And so he said, I said, great, let's go back. Let's relook at all the things that you felt we couldn't do at the time that you bought these other solutions. And let's revisit. So in Q1, so in March, this company actually bought our learning solution. And the reason is because they've seen significant improvement in that. Well, we're seeing the same across the business suite. Maybe a customer went out and bought Coupa or bought Workday, but they're a core S4 ERP shop. They're now revisiting those decisions.
Life is too short not to work on solving cool problems with interesting people, and recruiting allows us to do both. I'm Brando, host of the Rebel TA podcast, a show where we share stories with people and talent leaders who are on a mission to empower the candidate-employer relationship in the future of work.
Hey, this is William Tinka. Listen, we did a series for iSolved called Heroes of HR, where we talk to HR practitioners. And these are just your run-of-the-mill, everyday, slogging it out, 300 employees in Cedar Rapids, HR pros. Mostly it's centered around iSolved and what they do with iSolved, but also they talk a lot about kind of the day-to-day rigor of HR. If you're curious about that, search for Heroes of HR wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.
I want to dive a little bit deeper and ask you about agents.
Okay.
In part because it's almost a law that I ask you about
Of
agents.
course.
So they're obviously big right now. Everybody's talking about them. And this week, SAP is announcing a bunch.
Yep.
Can you tell me about the ones that are pertinent to HR and give me a little idea of the thought process behind your decisions to tackle these particular issues?
Yep. So we're announcing the performance agent. And the reason we felt that was a great first step, first of all, we talked to our CHRO community. Everybody has to do performance reviews in one form or another. Some are very structured annual performance reviews. Others are more informal, maybe quarterly reviews. Regardless, what you'd like to be able to do is pull all of the information together before you get on the call with that person. Because 9 times out of 10, you realize, oh gosh, I'm having a performance conversation. I've got to go grab, what did we do from a raise perspective last year? What did we do from a RSU perspective? What are all the conversations that we've had where I gave either constructive feedback or positive feedback? What the performance agent will do is go out and pull all of that together for you. You can literally use that through Joule. So Joule is now not just, hey, go check some policy doc and tell me what my maternity leave options are. It's now something that can actually go out and pull data together around a very specific thing like performance. So we chose that because we thought this is a good first entry for our HR folks and something that everyone will be able to use within the organization. It's not just for the HR practitioners.
And another thing that you announced this week is, and this is SAP-wide, but the AI Foundation.
Yes.
Give me a quick summary of exactly what that is, but also tell me how it's going to impact SuccessFactors and the SuccessFactors roadmap.
Yep. So the AI Foundation is a pretty cool environment. I think Mark, that our large language models, they're Gemini from Google, Meta, ChatGPT or Copilot from Microsoft. There's a gazillion, Mistral, et cetera. We basically put that AI Foundation over those large language models. So, for example, 2 months ago, if a DeepSeek suddenly comes out of the blue and, is cheaper and better and all of those things that we heard when DeepSeek came out, we're able to take advantage of that. And our customers are able to take advantage of that without having to change the things that they've done. The AI Foundation allows you to extend what we're providing through Joule. So I don't expect that an HR practitioner is going to go out and build, their own AI agent. I do expect that they may raise their hand and say, we have a very specific use case that we don't believe, SuccessFactors is going to take care of because it's specific to our company. IT folks, we would like your help in putting this together. They'll be able to use that AI Foundation to do that.
This question just came to me as you were talking about all the different large language models. How are CIOs or companies, your customers, dealing with the fact that there's all of these different models out there?
Yep.
It seems like there's more focused ones coming, but there's still a lot of balls in the air for them.
Yep.
How are they synthesizing all this information and deciding what they're going to use?
It's a great question. I think it's a little bit of trial and error. And I've had several CHROs who have talked about the fact that they've turned on things like ChatGPT for their organization. And so they're I should say Copilot, not ChatGPT. It's really Copilot from Microsoft that they've turned on. And basically what they're realizing, is they have all of this, data locked down. And then suddenly they've given people access to Copilot. People are taking potentially confidential information, putting it in Copilot in order to, and they're like, so we don't like that. We don't really want that. And that's part of the reason that we've provided this, AI capability within boundaries. So it's not just SAP data that we can access, it's non-SAP data as well, but there are boundaries. And so you can't just put confidential company information out in the public domain using something like ChatGPT, for example, which is really more public domain than Copilot. But, again, they don't want that out there. And so they're looking at potentially locking down some of the things that they've offered to their, all of their employees, because they're realizing that it's really not great. And then sometimes they're taking the data out of SAP, putting it out in the public domain, and then pulling it back in. So that's kind of what I've heard from a security, from a data privacy perspective. There are some concerns around using those public solutions.
Now, you're out there talking to a lot of people, obviously, and obviously a lot of customers. I'm curious about what are the common things, the hot buttons that you're hearing from your customers that you've got to address, but may not have addressed it yet?
Well, there's a long list. I mean, there's always a long list of, hey, could you do this? Hey, could you do that? Here's another 10 use cases I'd like. I'd say for us right now, one of the hot buttons, and we're very focused on it, is around high volume recruiting. We have a phenomenal ATS, we have a phenomenal recruiting solution, but when you get into hiring 100,000 employees a year, like some of our larger customers do, they need more capability. We have partners that provide SMS, texting capability, but what we've heard pretty loud and clear from our customer base is they'd like us to take more of that on. So that's an area that we're really focused on potentially looking at over the next year.
Maryann, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're having a great week and have a great Sapphire. And I hope we'll talk again.
Mark, we'll miss you at Sapphire, but have fun on that cruise.
Yes, I'm going on a cruise, the Queen Mary 2, transatlantic like they did in the old days. But for now, my guest today has been Maryann Abbajay, the Chief Revenue Officer at SuccessFactors. And this has been People Tech, the dryland podcast of WorkforceAI.news. We're part of the Work Defined Podcast Network. Find them at www.wrkdefined.com. And to keep up with AI technology in HR, subscribe to Workforce AI today. We're the most trusted source of news in the HR tech industry. Find us at www.workforceai.news. I'm Mark Pfeffer.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.